Good morning. Good morning. If you are on YouTube Live, I'm getting ready to set up Facebook Live, and I'll be with you in about 30 seconds to a minute. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. You got Facebook Live set up. We are in business. There we go. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Saturday morning, nice and early. It's 9:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm excited to jump on here today to talk about financial literacy. And today, when we talk about financial literacy, it's still leaning more towards what we dealt with before when it comes to is retirement possible? But we're going to get a little more micro and talk about, good morning, Mr. Reggie Castile. I will behave today, sir. You have my word. Just be careful. And ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about financial literacy today, we're going to go a little micro into the direction of 401ks, and we're going to deal with the history of the 401k, how it came about, this retirement option, and also what the purpose of it was and why the 401k became important. So you can understand what it is that you're pouring into, what it is that you may or may not need to set up, and how to adjust. One of the overall arcing things I want you to remember today is history repeats itself. So we are going to talk about the 401k. Is it outdated? And of course, at the same time, whether it is or whether it isn't, what action we need to take on our end, and if history repeats itself, what should we expect? What should we look for as time goes by? So good morning to everyone tuning in. And I'm excited to talk about the 401k, the history of it, how it came about, financial institutions, banking systems, how it affected us as well as people. This should be a great, great history lesson on today when we talk about financial literacy. This is definitely more than worth adding to the library of information that we're going to continue to compile. So we'll give everyone about another minute or so to dive on in, and we'll get started. I am excited. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I had fun studying a lot of this information as well. So anyone can come here and jump on live and talk. But it's important that you do some research as well. Let's see here. All right. So if you are tuning in already, please make sure you like, subscribe, share this information. Let's get more people actively involved in on this. That way we can include more people into this conversation about financial literacy. It is Coach Steele, and I have titled myself the financial voice of the people. And that's exactly what I am. I am the financial voice of the people. And I talk about the things you want to talk about and the things you need to talk about, the things that we don't even think to talk about or contemplate that we need to discuss and have conversations about. Those are the things that we're going to talk about. And that's why I'm the financial voice of the people during this time frame. And so there are other people who do not know about these outlets. There are other people that do not know about certain conversations. And if they knew about them, it would just completely change their life. It would turn their life completely around. And so that's why we have to continue to reach out to one another and be able to share this information with other people that just have no idea about financial literacy and what it means and the depths of it. There are people in need. There are people hurting. And that's what we're here for, to be able to be there for those people. So my target audience is, for those average people when it comes to financial literacy that want to learn, that want to grow, that want to improve on their knowledge. There we go. I need to turn my volume up a little bit. So if I was on YouTube and you couldn't hear me, my volume was down pretty low. So, all right, I'm almost about ready to go ahead and get started. About 30 more seconds, we'll let people on in, and then we'll get the ball rolling. And we're going to deal with the gentleman that we dealt with last week when we were talking about Ted Benna. That is his name. I could be pronouncing his last name wrong, but it's fine. But when we talk about Ted Benna, we talk about the 401k, they do refer to him as the father of the 401k. So he did come up with it. He did invent it, in a sense, create it. And so we're going to deal with the mindset behind why he created it, why he came up with it, what the purpose of it was, and of course, what it is now. All right, let's see here. There we go. All right, we are almost ready to rock. I like this. Here we go. Jackpot. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so let's get this party started, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we deal with, like I mentioned before, the 401k, is it outdated? Do you have a 401k? Do you have some type of retirement plan in place? If you do have some type of retirement plan in place, whether it's a 401k, an IRA, a solo, traditional, or Roth when it comes to IRAs, if you have a 403b, a TSP, if you have something like that in place, just throw in a thumbs up. Just thumbs up or just say yes in the comment section if you have some type of retirement in place. And another thing we're going to talk about today is pensions as well. Some people don't necessarily have like a 401k or an IRA in place, but with their company, with their job, they do have a pension. So if you have a pension in place, if your company or the job you work for has a pension, feel free to put a thumbs up or put yes in there as well. My cup matches my shirt. All right. So one person I see, they say yes. So they do have something like that in place. So this morning I am live on Facebook and on YouTube. And so feel free to hop in either one. But no matter what you do, feel free to follow me on Facebook, but also subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, share this information. But definitely you can jump in on the YouTube live if you would like to. That way, if you do need to continue to do other things, you can always throw me on YouTube, whether it's on your cell phone device, whether it's another device, or your TV, so that this morning, as early as it is, 9 a.m., if I'm on your YouTube, you can still cook, you can still eat your morning breakfast, you clean the house, whatever it is that you're doing while I'm sitting here talking to you. So we'll clean together and cook together while I talk to you about financial literacy. And then, of course, when I get done, give me the address so I can come get my food as well. So when we talk about the 401k and its intentions, we do know the 401k is a retirement plan that a lot of people use, that a lot of people have in America, and they have designed this 401k that as you work your regular 9-to-5 job, you are able to take your funds, your money that you make, and then contribute, put money, contributions into your retirement plan inside this 401k. And so when you're able to do that, hoping that long term, later on down the line, as you pay your future self, you can receive distributions, you can draw from that 401k to help you maintain your lifestyle, to help you pay bills, to whatever it is that your goals are 15, 20, 30 years from now. So we know that is the case. Now, when we look at the gentleman, Ted Benna, who came up with the 401k, the father of the 401k, who invented it in a sense, he actually was a pension benefit consultant. So think about that. He was actually a pensions benefit consultant. So his specialty was consultations and selling pension benefits and making sure that that stuff works great for employees. So the fact that he was a pensions benefit consultant in Pennsylvania, this gentleman eventually came up with what we know now as the 401k. And so, like I've mentioned before in other episodes, for the average person to build up and put enough money inside a 401k that will hold them for their retirement, that will hold them as they age when they are no longer working or can potentially no longer be able to work because of physical limitations or mental limitations. That 401k, the average person, we're looking at it as this should sustain us. So when they came up with that, like I said, whether you go to a financial advisor and they say that you have to have 10 times the amount of your annual income inside this 401k to be able to maintain your lifestyle when you are no longer working and you're doing all the things that you like to do. Like I mentioned before in another episode, most financial advisors will tell you you need 10 times your average salary. So if you made $50,000 a year, 10 times 50,000 is 500,000. How many people have successfully put $500,000 in their retirement account? Not too many people when you look at the statistics. Not many people are prepared for retirement. So you have to be very realistic when we look at this 401k. Is it outdated? Is it realistic? And what other options do we have besides just a 401k? So Ted Benner, the father of the 401k, it became a default plan for retirement. So there were other retirement plans in place, and I believe they called them DBRs. But anyway, I could be completely wrong when it comes to that. But and I'll get the right abbreviations for it as we go along. A lot of that will come back to my memory. So when we talk about those retirement plans, there were pensions in place before the 401k. And there's a lot of interesting history about pensions, and I can't wait to get to it because these are things that we need to know. But understand, when he came up with this 401k, this default plan for retirement, why do we call it the default plan? Because pensions were in place first. And after pensions were in place, then Ted Benner came up with the 401k. What was before pensions? Does anyone know? Does anybody know before pensions, what was the retirement plan in America? If anyone knows what the retirement plan before there were pensions, before pensions came about, please tell me if you know what the retirement plan was in America before they came up with pensions. I'll give you about 15 seconds if anyone can tell me what the retirement plan was in America before pensions came in place. And so you have to remember pensions, there's a lot of history on that, and I'm going to dive into that as well. So I'll definitely dive into what pensions are in case someone doesn't know what they are. But what was happening, in case people don't know, was pensions were fading. And Social Security, I can't say they were necessarily fading during that time, but pensions were when 401ks started coming into play, there was a transition of pensions beginning to fade as well as a result of the 401k. Because with pensions, a lot of companies would, people who worked in factories and work with certain companies, you could work with a company or for a company 20, 30 years and then receive a pension when you retire. And so when you receive that pension, that company would pay you a set amount after you retire, after you did those set amount of years. So keep that in mind when we talk about this transition from pensions to 401ks. And so when Ted Benner came up with 401ks and companies adopted this 401k for their employees to be able to take a portion of their income and put them inside these 401ks. In other words, they're able to transfer some of their money that they made from working into the 401k before it was taxed. So it's pre-tax money going into these basket of mutual funds. And so just keep that in mind. 401ks, look at them as a big basket of mutual funds, a gumbo of stocks, so to speak. And so people were able to put money into these 401ks basically to help them save for retirement, to help them be able to have money. And so you must understand that even now, when we look around and you talk about pensions, there aren't many companies, organizations, private institutions, organizations that do have pensions for their employees. So pensions are basically, they've already started fading and they are continuing to fade. Many people that you see with a pension will probably be, maybe they work for the government, maybe they're a state employee and things like that. But for the average company and small businesses, they don't have pensions anymore. They're being phased out for a number of reasons. And so long term, it's difficult, it's rough for some people who expect pensions, but it may be a good thing to set something up for yourself, because there's some companies that did have pensions and then the company went bankrupt. And if a company goes bankrupt, what happens to your pensions? What happens to your health benefits? And so there's a lot of variables that come into play when you look at pensions. And so 401ks, people continue to invest in those 401ks consistently, because statistics say if you continue to invest into these retirement plans long term, in other words, that involves dollar cost averaging, allowing compound interest to work to your benefit, and also allowing the stock market to have its ebbs and flows and its booms as well. And so if you have a 401k, you should be able to slowly set up and establish a retirement plan through a 401k through basically long-term investing, long holds, long-term investing. And so it is difficult sometimes, especially when you're young. For all my young people out there that are in their 20s, we don't always want to make money 30 years from now. We don't always want to be able to have $500,000 20 years from now. If you ask someone in their 20s when they want the $500,000, they want it tomorrow. They want it next week. They want to be able to walk out the front door and be able to grab it now. So when we talk about 401ks, although this may not sound as entertaining and jazzy for someone who's younger in the process and may not, may have just started working, you may be thinking, I don't even have enough money to put in a retirement plan. For those young people, continue to tune in, continue to listen, because this is very, very important for you right now. Because you have to learn the power of compound interest. You need to do some research on the power of compound interest and how it affects you now as a young person. And so as I'm talking to everyone this morning, keep in mind, whatever I say, whatever we discuss, I am not a financial advisor. I am not your CPA. Continue to do your own research. Look up and confirm the different things that I'm talking about and the things that I'm saying. Go find out what is true and what is not true. You have to take the initiative and the onus to do your own research as well, to verify what you're hearing is factual, to verify what you're hearing. If certain things are applicable, apply it. If it's not applicable, then, one ear and out of the other. So as we continue to go forward, just understand to be able to build up this 401k that Ted Benner put in place, it is going to require you to put in long-term, whether it's a TSP, 403B, 453, whatever it is, it's dollar cost averaging, allowing compound interest to work for you, and going with the ebbs and flows of the stock market. So you're at the mercy of the stock market. So when we talk about is a 401k outdated or not, just keep in mind, when you commit yourself to the 401k, you are also submitting yourself to the ebbs and flows of the stock market, whether it is doing well or whether it is not. But one thing in America that we have learned that continues to increase in value over a period of time is the stock market and real estate. So just keep that in mind if you're taking notes. Two things that continue. I'm on the reason why I'm going different angles is because I'm on YouTube and Facebook also. For my YouTube family, I'm facing one direction. For my Facebook family, I got a different direction going on. But keep in mind, two things that continue to grow over a period of time in America and elevate is the stock market, S&P 500, and real estate. So a lot of wealthy people continue to invest in the stock market and in real estate because even though it may have its ebbs, it continues to flow upward. It has its ups and downs. So I'm not saying the stock market and real estate never dip. The point is, even after it resets or after it corrects itself, we often see that it continues to rise. And of course, I have my personal views as to why real estate continues to grow in America. And I won't say them right now, but definitely real estate is a great place to invest your money in long term if you want to continue to build generational wealth. So just keep that in mind, those two things, real estate and the stock market. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about the 401k, we must understand that there are issues that happen. Is the 401k outdated? Is it a good product? Is it a good place for you to invest your money? But what happened in 2008? If you're listening, if you're tuning in, can anybody remember what happened in 2008 and how it affected the stock market? Does anybody remember any major event in 2008 and how it affected the stock market? Feel free to comment. I'm drinking a lot of water. Went for a long walk this morning, so I'm rehydrating. Does anybody remember what happened in 2008? Let's see here. Anybody remember what happened in 2008? How old were you in 2008? If you're young, you may not even remember what happened in 2008 financially. You know, that was a broad question, but what happened in 2008 financially? Yes, India, one of my old battle buddies, she says it was terrible. And I'll tell you what happened in 2008. And it's easy to say it was a stock market crash, but really what happened, it was more so on the real estate side. There was a real estate crash in America. Things had, and good morning to you as well. Happy that you're tuning in. Just talking about financial literacy, India, and we're just talking about, 401ks, retirement. Is it possible in America, and the things that we have to do as well. And so we're also dealing with pensions, how they affected Americans over a period of time. Just giving a little history of how 401ks came into play and other creative things that we need to do to make sure that we can retire comfortably as we continue to get older. When I met India, I was in my 20s. We were probably both in our 20s, definitely. And now we're not in our 20s anymore, and we have to do things to set ourselves up for retirement. And so when we look at 2008, there was a real estate crash, and it happened because there was a big real estate bubble. Real estate was overpriced. And remember what I told you all when I said history repeats itself. That was one of the overall themes that we're looking at this morning, is the fact that history does repeat itself. So in 2008, which is about 16 years ago, there was a big real estate bubble. Real estate was overpriced. Does that sound familiar right now? And long story short, when the real estate market crashed, it was devastating for a number of reasons. But just know that the market of real estate, the real estate market, does have a strong effect on the stock market in America for a number of reasons. But most importantly, real estate, it affects, and the success of it affects big banks. It affects banking and financial institutions in America for a number of reasons. So the big banks do expect us to borrow money from them to buy houses, also for banks on lower levels to borrow money to finance. And of course, they give us a loan. and we pay a certain amount as well back to them, and they keep the arbitrage, which is in the middle. But that's a whole nother story. But yes, there was a real estate crash and market crash in America. And when that happened, because I'm talking about the 401k, so be able to and understand that I'm right there in the vein. When we talk about the 401k, that market crash that happened in 2008, it dropped anywhere between 20% for some people to about 40%. So we're talking about a 20 to 40% drop. Well, how does that affect your 401k? How does that affect your retirement or the people who had retirements back then? Well, imagine a 20% drop in your 401k. So if you had $100,000 in your retirement plan in 2008 and the market experienced a 20% drop, then how much money is now in your 401k? And I'll let somebody answer that question. If you had $100,000 in your 401k and the market experienced a 20% drop, even though some statistics say it was anywhere between a 20% and a 40% drop, we're going to go with the low number. If you experienced a 20% drop in the value in your 401k in 2008, then if you started with $100,000 with that 20% drop, then how much is that 401k now worth? What is the value of that person's 401k if they had a 20% drop? Can anybody tell me what is the value? So I'll tell you, if you dropped and lost 20% of the value of your 401k and you had $100,000 in there, that means your value is now $80,000. $80,000. So imagine going to sleep, having $100,000, and then going to sleep, and then you wake up and your 100,000 is now 80,000. Think about it. Imagine having $1 million in your 401k. You go to sleep and you wake up, and now there's only 800,000 in there. A 20% drop. Now imagine if it was a 40% drop. Think about some of the people that experienced that 40% drop in 2008. If they had 100,000 in their retirement plan, they go to sleep, wake up, and now there's only 60,000 in there. Can they retire the same? Is it the same comfort? Is it the same comfort of living? Is it possible to now retire that year as they plan or the next year as they plan? Or were they left with the advice of, well, ride this out, the market will recover, it will correct, and it'll go back up? But what if you had planned on retiring that year? What if you had planned on retiring in a few months? What if you don't want to wait 5 years for it to correct itself and whatever the case may be? What if you're having medical problems and it was important and vital that you retired that year? So think about those things as we give advice and we just say broad things that don't work for everybody. So some of that advice doesn't work for some people depending on the timing. So yes, we dollar cost average. We allow compound interest to work. So when we talk about the 401k and the fact that it's connected to the stock market, it's also connected to its ebbs and flows. So when we look at the 401k, does it work for you? Is it outdated? Or think about this. Do you need another plan? Do you need to have another plan in place? Should there be some other asset classes that you are investing in right now, no matter what age you are? Should you start investing in other asset classes? You know, one asset class may be gold and silver, maybe precious metals. Another asset class may be real estate. So different asset classes. What do we mean by asset classes? Asset classes are basically those other things we can invest in that will be profitable, that will bring in cash flow, and most importantly, what I like, that will bring in passive income. And so we have to start looking at, should we solely rely on a 401k to be our all in all, our end and be all, or whatever the phrase is, or do we need to have other things in place? And so some companies do have pensions, but we do know eventually that pensions are slowly fading away. If you're connected to a government job or some type of state job, sometimes they do have pensions. And so you're a little bit safer. But there are some companies out there in the past that have lost pensions. They went bankrupt and the people were left hanging with nothing in their hand. So also, another thing to think about is in 2020, even when we think about, we already talked about 2008, how the market crashed and people who had money in those 401ks, how basically those 401ks lost value. But even in 2020, think about that. The people were planning on retiring around that time frame, 2019, 2020, and beyond, when the S&P 500, which is very reliable, a lot of people invest in, it has continued to grow on average at least 10% or potentially more for I don't know how many years now, but it even dropped 34% during COVID. Think about that. Is the 401k outdated? Should you only rely on the 401k, or do you need to start investing in other asset classes? Listen to what I'm saying and continue to do your own research as well. So if the S&P 500 dropped at least 30% during COVID, once again, here's the example. If you had $100,000 in the S&P 500 in your retirement portfolio during COVID, and you were planning on retiring and you're planning on stepping away, we know we have, and I can't remember all these different generations and things like that, whether we call them baby boomers or whatever generation, this, that, and the other. But whatever group is getting ready to retire during that time frame, and they lost 30% of the value of their retirement fund. If you had $100,000, now you wake up and you have $70,000. The easy answer for a lot of people is they're going to say, well, they just need to ride it out. Well, they can dollar cost average and they can allow compound interest to continue to work for them, and they can just continue to give. Some people were not physically able to continue to work anymore. Some people medically could not continue to work. Some people had to disconnect from their jobs and they had to retire during that time frame. So that answer, that one size does not fit all. It doesn't work for some people, and it is documented. And so that's something you have to look at and understand, that when people lose 30%, 20% of the value in their 401k, they were left holding the bag, and the money that they put in. And here's a good point right here. I want you all to know something. This is very important. Whether your 401k, whether your retirement plan is having success or whether it's failing, the people who manage those portfolios, those retirement plans, they still get paid. You still have to pay your fees, whether the plan did great or whether it sucked, whether it failed, whether it did not do good. You still have to pay somebody. Imagine having to pay someone when they lost you money. Imagine having to continue to pay someone for a service and the service is not good. Is the 401k outdated? Is the 401k something that you should solely rely on, or should you start thinking about other asset classes to invest in to complement your retirement plan and your goals so that your retirement plans are realistic? Of course, if you listen to me long enough, I do love real estate. I do like the benefits of real estate, and real estate can also be another asset class that you can invest in. And as a matter of fact, when I get off of live today, I'm actually going to be tuning into a real estate training. And so you're more than welcome to dive in and tune into that real estate training as well. Feel free to jump in there. And so when I do come off of live around probably 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, I'll leave in there a Zoom link in the description, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Facebook. So if you want to tune into that real estate training class, you're able to tune into it as well. It'll be today, and it will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. And I'll double check that as well. But it should be 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. I'll be tuning into a great real estate training. And so those of you who are interested in real estate and interested in that different asset class to learn how to set up a retirement, you can dive in on that as well. And let's see. Let me make sure that I tell you the right thing. Yes, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. If you're Central Time Zone, it'll be 10 a.m. CST. But I'll make sure that I leave that Zoom link in there so that you can learn and dive into this real estate investing training that I'll be in as well. So anyway, as we continue to talk about the 401k, is it outdated, and how pensions have basically faded away, you must understand that pensions were the retirement vehicles expected to financially support people. Pensions were the retirement vehicle to financially support people in retirement. And so the idea, think about this, the idea of saving for retirement years ago in America, before 1970, it really wasn't a thing. People just worked until they couldn't work anymore. People worked until they passed away. So retirement was not a big thing early in America. So pensions, as they came about and America began to copy things that they saw in different countries, they developed this thing called a pension. And so, like I said, it was kind of foreign to save for retirement in America, but it was more seen as that someone would work at a job for 25, 30, 35 years, and then they would draw a pension from that one company. Remember the phrase, history repeats itself. History will repeat itself. So they would work at this company for about 30 years, eventually draw a pension. But think about this. What if you only made it at that place for 15 years? What if you only worked at that place for 10 years and life happened and something caused you to have to uproot and move? So now if you have to move, it is difficult to draw a pension from that place where you worked at for 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. And so pensions really, they became outdated because it limited the ability and the creativity for people to be able to retire the way they wanted to. And so pensions back then, and this is why it's important and why I talk to my women and I talk to women about retirement and why it's important for them to have their own retirement in place. You must understand that even back then, pensions, men benefited more than women did when it came to pensions. Early in America, most men, a lot of men would have pensions, but women would not benefit from pensions as men did. And another fun fact for you all to know is that if you were a minority or if you were a Black person, you probably weren't even allowed, not probably, many weren't even allowed to have pensions or receive pensions. So they were pretty much excluded from that plan. It wasn't until years later, time went by, where they were finally included and able to have pensions. So imagine working somewhere 25, 30 years, you're not even included in the pension plan. So if minorities, if Black people weren't allowed or included in pension plans back in the day, then how much money and generational wealth could have been passed on to a future generation to have success that they missed out on? Some things are fair and some things are not. And so this is why I'm so passionate of talking about, minorities and women setting themselves up for success for retirement. And us men, of course, we need to do the same thing because our numbers aren't great either. But more importantly, history has shown in America that minorities and women are not prepared financially for retirement. And so if we are not financially prepared for retirement and pensions eventually became outdated and some people were excluded from it, if history repeats itself, should you solely depend on a 401k for your retirement, or do you need to start thinking about other asset classes to dive into? So when we look at the history of the 401k, we do know that Ted Benna put it in place, and it helped phase out that pension plan. And so most, like I told you, men benefited from pensions than women did, and people of color were left out completely. About 65% of African Americans in the workforce back in the early days in America were excluded initially as well from Social Security as well. So not only were minorities, Black people excluded and not able to have pensions, but initially they were excluded from being able to have Social Security. They were not put in that Social Security plan. And so if you want to do some research on it, it was called the Social Security Act of 1935. Social Security Act of 1935. And so FDR, that was the president at the time, FDR, he created, or now I won't say created, but he definitely got it approved and it moved forward through the system to have that Social Security Act of 1935. And basically, it just didn't allow African Americans, 65% of African Americans in the workforce, to have access to that plan as well. So there's a lot of money that women and minorities have missed out on through a history of time. And that's why it's important that you find out with your job, where you work, how to set up your retirement and how to pay your future self successfully, because history has shown in America that they have not done a great job of setting women up for retirement successfully or minorities up for retirement successfully. And so I don't want to make this a race issue. I just want to deal with the facts. And when we deal with the facts, it says you better take action for yourself. You need to set some things up in place because you cannot rely on the government to set it up for you. History repeats itself. And so no matter what color you are, no matter what race or creed you are, when the stock market crashes, the stock market doesn't look at what color you are. The money all is the same color. And so when you have everything that is near and dear to you, all your life savings inside that 401k, and the stock market crashes, guess what? You lose 20%, 30%, 40% of all of your life savings or whatever it is. A big chunk of your financial success, it goes down with it. And so when we talk about, is the 401k outdated? Just keep in mind, you have to be very creative and diversify your portfolio. Because just like pensions can fade out, 401ks can fade too. And so I don't want our people, when we talk about is retirement possible, I don't want my people, my community, my circle of people not to be prepared successfully on retirement. I think that every person in America should be financially independent. In other words, you should not have to lean or rely on. If you have to, you have to. But let's start being creative and come up with creative ideas on how to be financially independent and successful without having to lean on or rely on anything. And then if anything extra comes in, if you do get Social Security benefits, if you do get a pension, if you do have 401k, then great. It'll be like the cherry on top. But I'm challenging people to tune in and listen and start diversifying your portfolio, start learning about other asset classes where you can start pushing your money inside those asset classes to bring you back profits, to bring you back money, to bring you back cash flow, to bring you back passive income, to set you up for success. Like I told everyone before, how realistic is it that most people are going to take $500,000 and over the period of 20 years, 30 years, be able to take $500,000, and I'm getting ready to draw something on a board. And so most people have not been successful of making $500,000 inside their retirement fund. And whether it's $1 million inside their 401k. And of course, most people want to do that because you're doing that in hopes that, later on, that if it's $500,000, maybe you're hoping that every month you're able to draw $3,000 or $4,000 from it a month, so that you can continue to live off of the distributions you receive from that retirement plan. And so those are some of the things you have to think about. and where you are now. How realistic, depending on where you are now, is it for you to be able to save up that money inside that retirement plan so that you can successfully retire and earn a nice living? And how long will it take you? That's the thing. How long is it going to take you to save up that money? And so, one thing I want you to think about as we start planning for retirement, and is retirement possible in America? Is the 401k outdated? Do you need to start looking at other asset classes? And I have some ugly handwriting right here that I want you to look at just to be realistic. You know, that person who is trying to make $500,000, as you see right here, and put that in their retirement plan in their 401k. If you're trying to not raise, but contribute to your retirement, that 401k, so that later on you can draw $4K a month, if that's your goal, how long is it going to take to do that? With the ebbs and flows of the stock market, how long is that going to take? And this ugly little house that you see right here, it represents real estate. Or is it easier to find a piece of property, real estate, multifamily unit property, or some commercial property? And I know I got to angle this for my people on Facebook as well. Is it easier to find some real estate that brings you $4,000 a month, or Airbnb that brings you $4,000 a month? How many years is it going to take to find the right real estate property versus how many years it's going to take to raise that $500,000 in a retirement plan? So you do the math on that and help yourself understand and figure out, is a 401k outdated, or do you need to add something else to your retirement plan to make it realistic? Is it easier to find real estate that can make you potentially $4,000 a month, whether it's a multifamily unit property, whether it's a commercial property, whether it's an Airbnb? How many years will it take to find that so that you can make your $4,000 a month? Or how long is it going to take for you to save $500,000 to $1 million inside 401k? And can you potentially find that real estate property that will help you fund your retirement plan even faster? So start thinking about those things when we say, is retirement possible? And I think it's important because a lot of people really downplay the effects of, as we age, as we get older. There are certain things you're going to want to continue to do, and there's things as you get older you are not going to want to continue to do. Our bones, our structure, our bodies function different as we continue to age and get older. So you have to be creative of how you bring in cash flow and what expenses you have. So pensions are being phased out. 401ks started jumping into the equation back in 1980. It became a thing. Companies began to adopt them, add them into their portfolio of how they help their employees retire. And eventually around 2000, 2001, they began to connect the 401ks with the stock market. And of course, when we talk about the history and the lessons behind that, you must understand that when the 401ks, when they finally passed the laws and connected the 401k retirement plans with the stock market, now when your retirement plan is connected with the stock market, as the stock market moves, so does your 401k, your TSP, all of those different things. And so initially, really, 401ks were for wealthy people. So here's another fun fact for our history. 401ks were initially for wealthy people. When you listen to Ted Benner and some of the things he talked about, they used it. Wealthy people, senior executives were using the 401k to curb taxes. So when these senior executives were getting bonuses, large sums of money, they wanted to take that 401k and put their money in there, pre-tax money, before the money is taxed. They could put their money in their retirement plan, and that money would not be taxed that year. So a lot of people were using 401ks to help them not have to pay as much in taxes that current year. Now, when you start receiving distributions from your 401k after you turn whatever age, after 59 and a half or whatever age you decide to start drawing those funds, then that is when it is taxed. And most people are hoping that they're in a lower tax bracket when they start receiving distributions from their retirement plans. And so that way the money is not taxed as high when they were making more money. So the 401k initially was to allow wealthy people to put their money in a place before it was taxed so that they can use it to allow it to continue to grow non-taxed until later on, after 59 and a half, they receive those distributions, and then it would tax at a lower bracket. So it was deferred cash payments. And of course, like I said, it reduced their taxes that were paid. So in January 1980, they began to match contributions. And of course, you're able to put in those pre-tax contributions. That is another benefit of 401ks. There are a lot of benefits of it. And there's a stat that says 35% of working America has a 401k. Now, I thought that was interesting as well. Out of all of working America, only 35% of working America has a 401k, has a retirement plan. So that lets you know right there. If you have a lot of working America and only 35% have 401ks, then what happened to the other 65%? What do they have? And what does that 65% look like? What are the numbers on that? Who are those people? Who are the 65% that do not have a 401k and are not having success with retirement? So jobs with 401k plans help fund the stock market. I found that interesting as well. Jobs with 401k plans help fund the stock market. But there's some interesting things there, guys, as we talk about the 401k. Because they now connected the 401k with the stock market and kind of married them together, it really helps big companies, big organizations, because as we continue to funnel our retirements into their businesses, they're able to take that money and grow their business. They're able to use our money, our future retirement, to improve their business. And if their business grows, their shares grows, if their portfolios grow, then and we also, we get to benefit from that because our retirement continues to grow too. So we're investing our future money into other companies, hoping that they are financially responsible so that we can have success financially as well. And so 401ks put you in a position to be dependent and to count on the financial success, and for others to have financial discipline and responsibilities. These other organizations, institutions, we're relying on them to be able to have success during the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows. Or you can also start investing in other asset classes to where you become responsible financially as well. So then you put the onus on you to be creative financially so that you have power over your retirement, and it's not dependent on just the success of the stock market. So keep that in mind. And so pensions did become outdated because they did trap people into jobs for a long period of time. Imagine, and I can see why pensions faded away and 401ks became a thing, because those 401k retirements, you could roll them over to another company. You could roll them over into other financial tools that the financial institutions use. But with a pension, imagine wanting to leave a company and you can't leave. Imagine having worked 15, 20 years, or you're 3 years away and you want to leave the state or relocate. Pensions kind of limited you to where you were at. They pretty much kind of made you have to stay loyal to an organization, to a company, to a factory, whatever it is, whether you wanted to be there or not. What if you got tired of being there? What if you no longer wanted to work for this supervisor who seemed like he never or she never was going to ever, retire or move on? What if you wanted greater opportunities for yourself? So pensions kind of limited you in your flexibility of what you could do. 401ks came along and gave people a little more creativity, a little more options financially, allowed you to move around a little bit better from one job to the next, because you could always roll over a 401k to that next situation. Same thing with, that's why I like Roth IRAs, because it's kind of independent. It's your own thing that you can invest in, and it goes with you wherever you go. And you can control that as well. So when you look at 401ks, I urge everyone, get with your company, find out what's the max you can contribute into that 401k annually. That way you can really enjoy the benefits of it. I wish I could go into more details, but research what your company matches. Different companies, they do match uh, up to a certain percentage. So there are stipulations on how they match and how much they'll match your contributions as you put money in there. But it is free money. So do your research, do your homework, find out if you do have a 401k and you are investing in it, how much is your company matching you in it, so that you can continue to get that free money from them as you set up your retirement. So as we continue to go through some of the rest of this history and some of the notes that I did take, just understand that companies, institutions, they realize that retirement in America, there is a problem. There's a big issue with people having success with retirement in America. So they are even doing things to try to improve the situation. If you do research with the military right now, the past few years and more recent, they keep adjusting and changing plans for soldiers to be able to retire more successfully. And so they are even putting things in place. One of them is the blended retirement system of 2018 and the BBA of 2024. Do some research and you'll be able to find out some of the changes that they made to help soldiers be able to retire. I remember there was a time when it comes to retirement, the Army, yes, they have that pension, but you would have to do at least 20 years to be able to receive that retirement pension as a soldier. But I believe back in 2001, they added in the TSP, which helped soldiers be able to put money away for retirement as well. So just keep in mind that America understands that there is a retirement issue. I call it a pandemic, an epidemic. When you do the numbers, a lot of people are struggling to prepare for retirement. They don't know how much they need for retirement. People are struggling to put themselves in position to be able to step away and walk away from jobs. And when I talk about retirement, just keep in mind, everyone does not want to retire. Everyone does not want to quit working. Everyone does not want to go lay on the beach every day. Some people want to stay active and continue to do things that they enjoy doing at certain jobs. When I talk about retirement, I talk about putting yourself in financial success so that you have money coming in no matter what, whether it's passive income, whatever that retirement looks like for you. I want people to be able to have financial success, having money come in, and they are financially comfortable, so that if you are working at a job, it's because you want to be there, because you choose to be there. If you do decide to step away from a 9-to-5 environment and you're self-employed, or you're doing mission work, or if you're volunteering somewhere, you are so financially comfortable that nothing can pull you away from the things that your heart desires and enjoy doing. Now, here's another important thing about 401ks. I want you to know that 401ks do deplete over a period of time. As you continue to draw and receive distributions for that 401k, it can deplete and decrease in value over a period of time. So our 401k is outdated. It depends on the purpose that it's serving you. Is that money that you plan on allowing to participate in generational wealth, passing down generational wealth for your future loved ones, your family, or whoever? Keep in mind, when you're putting retirement plans in place, you may need to diversify your portfolio, because if a 401k is going to deplete over a period of time from you receiving distributions, but you want to have funds to pass down, or generational wealth or assets to pass down, then you may once again want to look at diving into real estate investing. If you don't know how to get into real estate investing and you want to learn, like I said, when I get off of here, I'll provide that Zoom link. So 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, I'm going to dive into some real estate training on a Zoom. And of course, you're more than welcome to jump in that as well to learn more about real estate investing and be able to see that it's not as complicated as you think, but you have to be creative. I appreciate that, Darius. He's at work, can't tune in, but he's going to share it. I appreciate that. That'll help somebody else out who may need to hear this as well. And so probably have a few minutes left because we're already at the top of the hour. It's already 10 a.m. So I'm just going to spend a few more minutes to emphasize pros and cons of 401ks. And we're going to close it out because 401ks do deplete over a period of time, and it limits your ability to pass down as much generational wealth as you normally would want to. And so let's look at some of those pros and cons of 401ks. Here's one pro of 401k. You can place funds into the plan every year. The con, you might not be able to save enough. And that's the problem that a lot of people are having. Many people just aren't saving enough in those retirements. And you have to look at that. You know, when you talk about real estate, guys, real estate continues to increase in value over a period of time. And real estate investing, you may end up being able to create a real estate portfolio that is growing in value faster than your 401k plan is. I could probably give you at least 3, 4, 5 examples of different properties that outpaced many people's 401k retirement plans. Another pro, employees might add to the account. Employers might add to the account. So another pro of a 401k is your employer can potentially match and add a certain percentage to the account. So it's free money. Contributions from employers might be minimal. So they don't always match a whole lot. It usually depends. Another con of 401ks is, you know, someone has to manage that. And so it does come with fees. And it does seem small, but let's say you're being charged $1,200 annually for them to manage it. And so when you talk about $1,200, and let's just make it $1,000. So if it's $1,000 for someone to manage your 401k, and let's say they're managing it for 25 years, how much money is that you paid them? That's $25,000 that you paid them. And so why are they taking $25,000 even on the years where it's, you know, total, even on the years when it was bad? Like, I should get a discount, right? If you don't manage my money well, then you shouldn't get paid well. And so when you think about $25,000 that could have developed or made compound interest over a period of time, so that takes away from some of the growth. The pro of 401ks, maintaining an account can be simple. So a lot of people, you know, it's kind of set it and forget it. You don't have to really worry about it. You're comfortable. Somebody else is maintaining it and managing it. So it's pretty simple for you. But like I said, some of the cons are 401ks do include higher fees, and it's out of sight, out of mind. So you don't even realize how much fees you're being charged annually. Get with the person that's managing your money and find out how much are your fees annually. 401ks can help you budget for retirement. So that's one positive about it. Set it and forget it. It helps you set yourself up for retirement, but there's a lot of variables in place. Like we talked about the 2008 market crash, the 2020 market crash. You know, you don't want to be limited to that 401k, and then that's the same year when it has a crash or a bad dip that you want to step away from your 9 to 5 and you lose 20%, 30% value of your retirement. It's a little more difficult to retire at that point. And the con of 401ks, it can be difficult to access your funds early. And of course, you know, you have to wait till you're 59 and a half. If you start pulling funds out of there early, it can come potentially with penalties. Do your own research, look this stuff up for yourself, and find out what those penalties are. Now, you can take a loan and borrow against your 401k and pay it back potentially, or there are hardships where there are exceptions where they do allow you to pull funds out of there. But once again, do your own research and check with your company and find out your limitations. And pros, you'll save on taxes while working. Anytime you contribute to your 401k, it is pre-tax funds, so that money is not taxed. So it limits how much the IRS, Uncle Sam, can tax you. So if you make $100,000 a year, but you put $20,000 inside your 401k, then the government can only tax you on $80,000. They can't tax you on the $100,000 you actually made. but like I said, it can be difficult to get access to those funds. Now, Google and look up Roth IRAs and look at the difference of, is it easier to pull funds from a Roth without penalty, certain funds from a Roth without penalty, versus that 401k? And I only bring that up because we want to find out, are 401ks outdated? Do they work for you long term? Or are there other things you can dive into? Another con for 401ks, another negative is you may end up paying high taxes later on. Most people put into a 401k so that the money isn't taxed, and potentially it won't be taxed at a higher rate later on. It'll be a lower rate. So just keep that in mind as we look at some of the pros and cons for that 401k, the pros and cons of a 401k. And so understand that pensions did phase out. There are plenty examples of some companies, they did offer pensions to their people, and then they took them away. Things happened. Companies went bankrupt or were not being financially responsible. And we do not want to have to depend on other people financially. Years ago, there was a company called Yellow Corp, and they failed to pay into the pension fund. And it ended up causing a potential strike on their people because it affected their people who eventually want to retire to be able to have a pension. And so imagine working for a company for 20, 30 plus years, and you can't get your pension because the company was not financially responsible. So what is the point today as we come to a close? Do not simply rely on a 401k. I would not put all my hopes, all my eggs in one basket into a 401k. I would start seriously being creative and thinking about another avenue, another option for retirement so that you can make passive income, so that you can have money coming in, whether you're awake or whether you're asleep. True generational wealth. Great generational wealth will continue to grow whether you're clocking in or whether you're not clocking in, whether you are asleep or whether you're awake. You want your assets, you want your generational wealth to continue to grow in value, to continue to give you money. And so it's very difficult to do that with a 401k because it does slowly deplete as you continue to draw funds. Now, what are some other options that you can do? Some other things you can do besides just depending on a 401k? You can start your own business. What is the benefit of that? 401k does have tax benefits with having one because that money is pre-tax. But if you start your own business, you set up an opportunity. Listen to what I'm saying. You set yourself up to have an opportunity to have access to a whole nother realm of tax benefits. I am not a tax professional. I'm not a CPA, but just go find and talk to a professional and see if what I'm saying is true. If you start your own business, listen to what I'm saying, whether it is initially successfully cash flowing or not, you open yourself up to a whole nother realm of tax benefits. One of the things, and y'all seen me talk about it before, my sister, she makes a lot of things, but her company name is called Posh Lifestyle. And of course, as you see right here, as I show Facebook and as I show YouTube, her company Posh Lifestyle, and I won't pronounce this name, it's called Lemon Verbena. But as you see, she makes candles and they smell amazing. They smell beautiful. And of course, we see this one right here. As she has this candle, let me show Facebook as well. And the candles, they're like art. They're artwork to me, but they smell amazing. What you see is what you smell. And so that's pretty cool. What is my point there? One, of course, if you want to buy a candle, let me know. I'll make sure I put her link in here. But two, also, just know that you can make your own items. You can provide a service. It's not that you have to do it for 20 or 30 years. You can come up with your own business creatively. You may do it for 5 years. You may do it for 6 years. You may do it for 2 years. And so understand that business opens you up to more tax benefits. Why is that important? Because it decreases the amount of money the government can take from you, and it puts it back in your pocket. It puts the money back in your pocket. And when you can take the money and put it back in your pocket, you can use it to grow wealth. You can use that money to grow wealth. Okay, Miss Sheila, I will put her link in there as well. So when I get off, I'll definitely put her link in there. But she has a variety of candles. She probably got, I call them, you can call them different scents, but I call them different flavors. But she has different scents, and I'm looking at like at least 6 other ones there. And she does have like a staple, I don't know what you call it, but that posh lifestyle, that one scent that a lot of people like buying as well. And so just keep in mind, guys, you can come up with your own business. I don't care if it's cutting grass. I don't care if it's cleaning windows, if it's making candles, if it's catering, you name it. If it's a cleaning service, start a business, be creative, and open yourself up to those other tax benefits out there. If you take a loss, then you can write off the losses. And if you're just, if you have your own business, and whether it's under LLC or not, any loss, I don't want to give tax. Never mind. I don't want to go too deep in that. I'm not a CPA tax professional, but do your research and find out if you do take a loss, can you write that against your 9-to-5 income? And if you can, what if let's do a hypothetical. What if your company that you started up this year, what if it took a $10,000 loss, but you made $80,000 in your 9-to-5 income? So you have a 9-to-5, you have your own business, and your own business took a $10,000 loss. Find out, can I write that $10,000 off that 80? So now if I can, then now the Uncle Sam only sees that I made 70. So if I only made 70, they can't tax me on the 80 anymore. They can only tax me on the 70. They can't. So that's $10,000 potentially that they may not be able to tax me on. Do your research, find these things out. Put more money back into your pocket. And so I'm excited to have gotten a chance to talk to you all today about 401ks, setting yourself up for success, creating other opportunities, diversifying your portfolio. One of the easiest ways that you can prepare for retirement is eliminate debt. Get rid of debt, guys. Any unnecessary debt, consumer debt, paying off your mortgage and things like that. If you're interested in things like that, paying off your mortgage and consumer debt, hit me up. I can send you some links and some information to show you how to get that done sooner than later. But like I said, when I get off, I'm also going to dive into some real estate training, but that's not until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. If you're Central Time, then of course that's at 10 a.m. And I'll leave the link, the Zoom link in there as well. So that way you can dive into that. But I'm going to participate in some high-level real estate training. And so I'm excited to learn. I'm going to be diving in there and learning as well. But keep that in mind, guys. Start your own business. Even if you're not good at it, just try something. Start your own business, be creative, and tap into those other tax benefits that are at your fingertips. If you don't have a company that has a 401k, they don't have a retirement plan in place, they don't have a pension in place, then I implore you once again, look at starting a Roth IRA. If I need to, I can leave a link of a company, financial institutions where they have Roth IRAs that you can start there as well. Individual retirement accounts, get that started for yourself. Don't wait on a company to set it up for you. Don't wait on a company to set up your retirement plan. You take the initiative. You never know what's going to happen with that company. And you can take that Roth IRA with you wherever you go. If you get tired of working at a company and you want to move on, then take that with you. Boom, move on. You independently set up your retirement account. You independently can establish your real estate portfolio yourself. So no matter what happens, you continue to increase your net worth. You still continue to increase your passive income money that you have coming in. If it's long-term or short-term rentals and you create a real estate portfolio, what you have to think about, how much do you need to retire comfortably? What do you need to have coming in monthly to be able to maintain yourself? Most importantly, just to be able to cover basic expenses and have food, shelter, and things like that. That's one number. What do I need to be able to maintain myself to have just the basics? Do you know that number? Do you know what it requires for your household just to maintain everything? and keep everything in mind, whether it's food, dish detergent, uh, tissue, those basic hygiene things. Um, if you have medical bills, what are the basics? Mortgage, car notes, whatever it is. What is the basic? What is that base amount you need to maintain your lifestyle right now? Because to plan for retirement, you need to find out, are you on track to have that amount coming in monthly when you step away from your 9 to 5, if you choose to step away from a 9 to 5? Do the tough work, do the difficult numbers now, even though it doesn't sound fun to talk about. Start doing your homework now so that you'll have less headaches later on. I don't want my people to be dependent on Social Security. We don't know whether they'll be here 15 years from now or not. So start setting yourself up for success now, to where if you do draw Social Security, then great. Like I said, it's icing, it's cherry on top, it's all the good stuff. It's there, it's great. But if you don't have to be dependent on it, and we can start putting things in place and investing now without having to be dependent on Social Security, then you are winning. You are winning, and you're winning big. And now you're no longer a statistic that had to have to be dependent. Like I told you all, I did the research. They said in the past year, the average Social Security check was about $1,900. It was really like $1,900 and I think $6 or something like that a month. That was the average Social Security check. Who wants to be dependent solely on that $1,900? Who wants to be limited to only $1,900 to maintain their lifestyle? Some people's rent is $1,900 alone. Some people, their mortgage payment is $1,900 alone. That's not enough to go around. So we don't want to be solely dependent on Social Security. When we talk about the 401k, how much do you need in your 401k? What is the target number that you need in that 401k? So when you start receiving distributions, how much will you be receiving as that 401k value depletes? How much can you receive a month comfortably to help you with your lifestyle of living? And so what we want to do is start looking at different asset classes to put ourselves in position to have success later on. And don't forget dividend stocks. It's another opportunity. Do your research on dividend stocks. If you don't know what dividend stocks are, I did make a short video about dividend stocks. Feel free to go to my YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training, my YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training. Feel free to go there if you're not on YouTube and you're on Facebook, and like, subscribe, and comment, and dive into that so that you can learn a little bit about dividend stocks. And every month I'll do like an update on that sample, that example of my dividend portfolio. I created that portfolio just kind of an experiment with dividend stocks. And also, I just want to show everybody every month what I do. I don't put a lot in there, so it'll show you also that you can create a dividend stock portfolio that you put money in monthly, and it doesn't take much. It's not very difficult, so you'll be able to see that it's possible for you to create that portfolio as well. Like I said, go and look on Coach Steele's Finance Training on YouTube, and more importantly, make sure you subscribe as well, because this team that we are creating, we are going places. And so we're going to go there quickly, and we're going to definitely get there. I'm in it for the long haul. Every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, I'm going to jump on YouTube and Facebook Live, and I'm going to talk about financial literacy. I'm going to yell financial literacy to everyone that is willing to listen, and to my community, because we have to make the conversation of financial literacy important. I'm Coach Steele. I am the financial voice of the people. I'm going to talk about the things that we need to talk about and simplify them to the point to where everyone can understand. I'm not going to talk over everyone's head. Can I get a little more complicated? Yes, I can get a little more complicated. Some things I talk about, you'll already know. That's fine. We'll refresh you, and we'll get a little bit deeper as time goes on. but I want to bring the whole team along as we take these steps. So continue to tune in. I love each and every person. If there's subjects or things you do want to talk about, feel free to leave that in the comment section, and I'll hit on those as time permits. I have a lot of other cool things coming down as well. We will be doing like movie reviews, but not reviews on just movies, just to talk, look at movies, but movies that deal with financial literacy. I want to do movie reviews, and I want to have discussions and conversations about those movies. So we will be doing that in the next coming month or two as well. But we got to lay some groundwork down. We got to deal with some vocabulary. And most importantly, we have to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success presently and in the future. It's Coach Steele's Finance Training. Continue to tune in. Love each and every person. And I am out, going to continue the rest of my day. And like I told you all, in about 38 minutes, I'm going to dive into some real estate training on a Zoom, and you're more than welcome to join in. I'll leave that link on YouTube and on Facebook. Be blessed.